Peace and abundance, soul tribe. What's up? Happy Monday. We are halfway through August. Here's Nani.
Hey, love.
Peace. Hey girl, what is up, sis?
Peace. How are you? How have you been?
I've been well. It's been a minute, so I am so grateful
Yes,
that you
sir.
are here today and that you are present. We've missed you.
Yes, I know. I miss you guys too. Good. Get the good energy again.
Yeah, your presence definitely has been missed. What's been up? Like, what's been going on? Let's catch us up to speed with the world of
Um,
money.
just in the transition. With the shift that's happening. So just really been tapping into myself. This next phase in life. Business wise, energetically, and just finding my way through like new new paths and things that are opening up for me now, in different places with different people. Last we spoke, I was newly into the plant medicines and the shrooms and everything. So just growing in that, learning more about that. Been working with more people on the healing journey. And that's been a beautiful thing, just seeing people progress in such a short amount of time is like, you know, going through 3 years, 3, 4, 5 years of counseling and therapy, and they're like, "Oh no, we've dealt with all my shit in just a 6 hour time span." I just think that's a gift that has been given, and so I'm grateful that it was shown to me. So.
Mm.
Yeah. What about you? How you been looking all beautiful and energetic on the beaches? And I'm trying to get to that water still.
You better come on through. Let's save the space for you. I got your chair and everything, sis.
I know.
No,
Keep it for me. I'm
listen,
coming.
baby. We got it warm. We got your space. We waiting for you. It's just you. You're gonna be here soon. You
Yes.
already here. We got to catch up in physical time.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Oh, yeah, it's been a journey for me as well. It sounds like you've been doing the work, and congratulations. Um, because I will tell you, it is. I ain't gonna say it's hard out here. It ain't hard out here. The challenges are real,
Yeah, for sure.
but they hurt so good, you
Don't
know?
they? Yeah, because every time I call it my triggers. Every time I don't get triggered, and I know this was a like, oh, you almost got me, but I didn't go. Yeah, it's like those little moments, like those little self victories that add up to a whole new person.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes, that's beautiful, beautiful reflections from a goddess. That is beautiful, those little moments. And I think that's so important because so many people don't celebrate those small achievements, those small accomplishments, those small transitions. They're always looking for that big transition, that big goal, and they're missing the journey. They're missing those little yummy gems along the way.
Yeah.
And we need them breadcrumbs because that's what builds that foundation,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So it's beautiful to see you build and to share that. So thank you for assisting others as you continue to transition because it's like the allowing energy to flow, like really being the flow means that at any given time you subjected to encounter anything.
Yes.
The the object of the game is how I like to look at it is to maintain balance
Yes.
within all of that coming through. Notice that, hey, this is anxiety that I'm peeping. What is coming from? Dive into it, but don't become it. It's like
Exactly.
it's really a sport. So
Yes.
and evolving, you get to look at it from different perspectives. So that's beautiful, sis. That is
Yes.
absolutely
I
beautiful.
call it maintaining control through chaos. Like if you could do that, you on your way. Like when everything is chaotic around you, but you still, unbothered as I like to call it. That's how like you're in control.
It's what you said when you still just being, right? Um, But yeah, girl, listen, we got to catch up. We're gonna catch up on here in just a second. But what I've been up to a few things. We began this live video with um the blooming womb. I just launched today. Oh my gosh. The online interactive womb wellness modules. Basically, it teaches you about your womb, teaches you how to track your period, gives you tools to track your period. You can do this at your own pace. It's a one-time fee. We're gonna drop the link in the comments, but that's what I've been up to. I've been on my womb wellness journey. I've been on my healing journey. In the process of doing that, I've been led to share that with the collective. So basically, I created a memoir or a diary of sorts, and that became a healing tool for other women at the same time. So when we heal ourselves, we heal each other. So
Yeah.
I didn't know it was going to be that way. We're creating this content. I had the vision in my mind to create it, but as I started to create it, I ended up diving in on a deeper womb wellness journey for myself. Because I am in the newly postpartum period. I say it's newly postpartum. My baby's a year and a half, so I'm still very much healing.
Right.
So it really allowed me to discover different parts of me. And in doing that, I shared that with other people. So it was so insightful for me. So that's what I've been doing.
Awesome.
Last month, actually, 1 month ago, I did the retreat, the one-on-one retreat is what we ended up having to do. And it ended up turning into not so much as a retreat, but it was more so of a healing experience for me because I got to let my hair down. I got to
Right.
experience something that I wanted to for so bad, and that's community here in this new space. I'm new here in Florida. So to be able to experience the beach and the water and all of the pleasures that I'm surrounded by with a sister of like mind, it was really, really powerful for me. Oh my goodness. That is really okay. All right. There we go. I got distracted, y'all. One of my little doohickeys didn't go live, and I wanted everybody
Oh,
to get
okay.
the video. They'd be like, "Why we didn't get the
Yeah.
notification?" And I was like, "No, wait, I didn't do that." But I'm still learning this stuff, y'all. But anyway, in the process of all of that, I was able to rest. So that kind of brings us and ties us into this topic, balancing that feminine and masculine energy. I'm Aries. I go, 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 go. I am a manifestor generator. I go, 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 go until I am pooped. And that's just how I operate. People like you going too hard, you're going too hard. But to some it may look that way. But for me, that's how that's my superpower.
Right.
That's my superpower. That's how I flow. Um, so in that, I have to really learn to find balance, because in doing, you'll become entrapped in a circle of masculine energy,
Yes.
control, always on the go, always moving, not being present. So I have to learn when to reel that in. Yes, it's a superpower, but too much of anything and can wreak havoc. So during this time, I'm learning to be still and rest. Because in creating this material, I learned, even on a deeper level in discovering me, how important it is to be in tune with your feminine energy. We
Yeah.
may say that and it may sound good to the ears, but I think a lot of people fail to realize the havoc it wreaks on the feminine body when we're operating in masculine mode. And people are probably saying, like, what's masculine and feminine? Well, I'm
Mhm.
not necessarily talking about a man or a woman. I'm talking about a type of energy. Energies are vibrations. Vibrations can be feminine or masculine. So when I'm talking about feminine energy, I'm talking about rest, nurturing, sweetness, confidence.
Intuition.
Yes, mothering, flow, creativity,
Right.
freedom. And when you talk about masculine energy, you talk about structure, control, linear thinking, logical thinking in the mind a lot,
Action.
power. Yes, and that creates hormones like testosterone, adrenaline, that fight or flight. Like if we're exercising a lot, or if we're running for something, if we're afraid or constantly anxious, we produce those types of hormones. And if in that feminine energy, we produce more feminine hormones like progesterone or estrogen. And that really is key to being healthy in our bodies,
Yeah.
because the type of hormones we produce determines the type of the type of end result of the product of the cells that we produce in our body. Our body is always regenerating itself. So if we don't have enough of something, we create an imbalance. So if
Exactly.
we have too much male hormone in our body and we're cycling, we're having our moon cycle, we're doing our thing, right? Maybe breastfeeding, whatever, then we're going to have some imbalances if we don't have enough of what we need, because those are the hormones to help us make that milk, or to have our cycle without all of that pain, or without fibroids and things like that. It allows us to flow. So that masculine energy can present itself in so many ways. When we have estrogen dominance, or a lot of testosterone, we can have like heavy periods,
Yeah.
symptoms of PMS, depression,
Yeah.
decreased sex drive, like mood swings, because we're operating out of our feminine flow, and we have
Right.
to really get in touch with that. But
And
I think a lot of women do that out of like programming. But yeah, I'm gonna
right.
let you tap in. Please
Yeah,
tap in.
no, I was gonna say, I was dealing with that, a couple months back, and because I had already been told this transition for me was going to be like I had to start. I was told like clearly, like you have to stop operating in your masculine energy, because as a single mom and different, a business owner and stuff like that's masculine energy, that survival, that go out, hunt and get it, bring it back, and then you got to nurture, and then you got to do all of you're doing a lot.
Yeah.
So I was mostly operating in masculine energy, and so like I spirit told me clearly, like, you can't do that in this next season. Like your next season, and I didn't listen. So me not listening, I went to the doctor, just like you, and I don't even do that, but something was just telling me like, hey, you need to go see whatever's going on. And so I went, and they tried to tell me, oh, PCOS and, this, that, and the third. And I'm like, I hear y'all, but I'm not claiming any of that,
Mhm.
and they had no reasons why. But I already knew that was just a manifestation of me operating in my masculine energy too much and being imbalanced in my feminine energy. So that's also been part of my transition now too, like being more flowy, like just not feeling guilty about resting.
Yeah.
I literally for the last 2 months decided like I'm not going to do anything on my cycles. Like I'm just going to sit down.
Yeah.
And for me that has been such a mental challenge because I feel like unproductive and like I don't have time to do this. But that is the problem.
Yeah.
Because that is what we should be allowing our bodies to do. And like hemorrhaging is not normal. So the heavy bleeding and the long 5 to 7 days. Like that's not normal. They tell us that, but it's really not. And that's the active manifestation of that imbalance that you're talking about. So yeah.
And that is so true. Like a lot of women, they shut themselves off from their cycle.
Yeah.
They're taking either like birth control. They're saying, I don't want this period. This is such a headache. Because when they get their cycle, they're either bleeding really heavy,
Mm-hmm.
they're super tired, or they're having like bad cramps. Like it's really like it feels like a curse. But they're what they don't realize is that's the body communicating. And when we start taking like medicines to shut off the pain, of course that's helpful. Nobody wants to be in pain, but we also don't want to dumb that pain down or numb it down. We want to tap into what's going on because that's our body communicating with us.
Right.
And usually that's because we got a dominance of male hormones in our body, and our womb is like, what about me?
Right.
It was screaming at you like, jump in, sis. I need you. I need you. So I think now more than ever, first of all, we need to show kindness to
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, patience, love, and kindness. And I know it sounds so cliche, but that's what I'm constantly, that's my center. Patience, love, kindness, and peace. Let me add peace. Patience, love, kindness, and peace. Simply because we as women, as mothers, as Black women especially, have gone through some torturous things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we ain't in masculine mode by choice.
Right.
We've been forced into that place from like ancestors, right?
Right.
Because
The agenda has caused.
that
Yeah.
and that time is now that story's been rewritten.
Mm-hmm.
So we're now having to balance that out. We were in a male dominated society.
Mm-hmm.
We everything was, related to the male, and how, even I was listening to 19 Keys, and he was saying when somebody called somebody a pussy in the
Right.
hood, that meant that they was weak. That's, man, look, that's
You know how strong a pussy is, though. We birth children, okay? Like, yeah, no, for
I'm talking about bleeding, birthing babies, then snap right back and act like ain't nothing happened the next day.
yes,
She's heroic. So it goes to show how we've been downplayed and our power has been diminished, because we are such a force. That's okay, because it's now time to reestablish that balance. But it's a time of having patience with yourself. And I just think about patience, love, kindness, and peace, because I have to remember too that I'm unlearning a whole system that I've been taught my entire life.
right,
Go get it. Be independent by any means necessary. Hustle hard. Working jobs was considered an honor. I got 3 jobs. I'm in my bag. No, sis, you stressed. You
right,
tired.
right,
Okay. And most of all, we're not present in our homes. Women are the root of the home. And I heard a sister speaking, and she spoke so profoundly as she related to the house plant. She said, if you're away from home too long, them plants gonna start to shrivel up and die. It's
mm-hmm.
the same way when you're not cultivating your home space, whether that's with a child, a spouse, or whatever it is you call your domain or your sanctuary. So that means you're stepping into too much of your masculine energy. Pull on back.
Mm-hmm.
Consider yourself that plant.
Yep,
You got to pour into you first and foremost, maintaining that gentleness, but also just knowing that, hey, I'm unlearning a lot right now. But being honest with your emotions, it's a whole journey. And
right,
that's why I felt like this course was really necessary, because we ain't been taught this. This is like brand new. Of course, it's innate, it's instilled in us, but we got to remember that.
right,
So to remember that, we're gonna have to break down a few barriers, and that's okay. It's part of it. But sometimes we need a little guidance. And that's why I think that it's really important that we hold spaces where we show women what feminine energy and what rest looks like. I can get a hell of a lot more done when I'm resting than when I'm trying to be on go mode and trying to do 18 things at one time. But I've done that out of survival.
mm-hmm.
And no, and that's not the time period that we're in anymore. It's time to thrive.
Yep,
So we have to learn and rest and allow those things to come, because it's not our job to be out here grinding and getting. It's our job to enjoy this experience and be the best versions of ourselves so that we can give that to other people. We can't give anybody anything we don't possess ourselves. So
right,
if we out here working all day, being mama, chef, doctor, teacher, all of these things, wearing all of these hats. We don't have anything for ourselves or anybody else. It's just little scattered pieces of us here, there, and everywhere, right?
Yep.
So we have to become whole by continuing to pour into ourselves. That's self-love first.
Yeah.
Honoring self first and foremost. And remember that in developing a regular practice, not just when, oh, I got a free time on a Saturday, it's self-care Saturday. No, it's self-care every day. But we want to show what that looks like. That doesn't mean you got to go all out and roll out the red carpet. If you can do that, do that.
Right.
But for now, maybe a shower saying
Yeah.
affirmation.
Well, 10, 15 minutes for yourself.
What's
Like,
some things that you like recommend? Like, I know you have a business, you are a mom, you have a lot of titles. What are some things that you would recommend like women can do if they have like while they're transitioning out of that masculine energy, I'll say.
yeah. Go outside. You know what I mean? Nature is healing. You know, just sit outside. Sometimes I just go and sit in the sun. You know, that's getting energy. Just sit. I like my car. Okay, so you can catch me in my car in the driveway.
I'm like her car too.
Yeah, I will be in the car. Like, if you can't find me, look in the car. I'll be in the car. It's like my little bubble for myself, and I can turn my music on or whatever I want to listen to. And I've fallen in the sleep asleep in the car a few times, just being in my own space, you know. So,
Mhm.
yeah, stuff, just small stuff like that. If you can't get too far from your house, go sit in the driveway in your car, put on, you know, some meditation, take 10, 15 minutes for yourself, just sit,
Yeah,
breathe, you know, and then go back to it.
yeah,
That's an easy escape. I love nature. Nature, trails, trees, you know, get that fresh air, oxygen, leave your phone in the car, you know, get off that 5G um frequencies, you know, and just get back to the natural frequencies. And so that's a good, you could take the kids, you know, and just have a trail day, a nature day. um I feel like every state has a national park or something that you can go
yeah,
to, and you can just kind of walk and enjoy the air and time, you know, if the weather permits. Traveling is one of my go-to's too. I have to go somewhere, you know, get close to some water, a ocean, a lake, whatever it is. I have to, you know, disconnect from my usual environment and then take a little trip. Doesn't have to be super far, you know, it could be 45 minutes away, you know,
yeah,
just the drive there will let you think and, you know, release a lot of stuff. So, you know, things like that. What else? I'm a big advocate for the plant medicine. If you can't leave, go nowhere, you can mentally leave. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So take a mental
yeah,
break. The plant medicine is good. There's all different variations that you can seek out and get into, you know, and we spoke about that on a previous episode. So y'all check that out.
yeah,
And you know, just whatever floats your boat. Some people like to write, you know. I used to be a writer. I used to write a lot. That was my escape. I've gotten away from that. And now I do cooking. When I'm feeling certain type of way, I just go cook something. You know, there's
yeah,
whatever speaks to you, whatever allows you to release, that's what you should do. You know, there's no right or wrong way. Whatever you connect to. Oh, and take your shoes off sometimes. Like that's a big thing. Like, take your shoes
yeah,
off, because that rubber, you're insulated. You can't connect to nothing. You know, I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, my feet, it's okay, wash them." But you know, get grounded. Even if,
yeah.
you know, go outside, just stand there for 5 minutes barefoot. You know, like we gotta get back to connecting to source, and so that we can get re-energized. You know, but if we got all these blockages everywhere, you're not getting anything anyway.
That's true. I highly, highly agree about the sun. The sun has enriched my life so much. We had a lot of sun in Colorado, but it was really cold. But here I'm able to get outside, so I'm much more healthier. My family's much more healthier. And I was actually doing some research about marine life because I'm like so fascinated by it last night. And I came upon a video where it showed with a hurricane, it created a layer of like regular fresh water that came from the rains
Mm-hmm.
that kind of suffocated the salt water. So the sun wasn't able to penetrate the water. So much of the marine life died
Um,
because it wasn't able to get the sun. So it shows how vital the sun is to all forms of life, not just
yeah,
us, but it is absolutely a very, very important nutrient. So getting sunlight and actually just fresh air in general, taking your shoes off. I had a brother in Memphis. It was so funny. We had a retreat and he was like, Z, I don't know if I'm with my woman outside barefoot out there in a dirt. I said, what's wrong with being barefoot? I said, it's
Right.
weird. I said, it's nature. What's wrong with barefoot? He was like, I don't know about that. Dirty feet in the bed. I was like, no. You go out there and ground, but nobody's saying you can't wash
Right.
wash your feet.
Wash
But
it off. Right.
the whole vibration and is grounding yourself, and it's so healing. One of my
Yeah.
favorite things to do is to lay a blanket out on the beach and lay out like
Mhm.
face forward, put my womb on the beach and then lay face forward and just kind of just breathe into the earth. And it's just like I'm releasing. I feel so light doing that, and you'll really just be amazed at the benefits. It may sound crazy, it may look
No, I,
crazy,
yeah.
but nature recognizes us
Yeah.
and our bodies recognize nature. Rosalind says, how do we begin to take our power back and tap into our feminine energy? First step. First step is to acknowledge that you are powerful. That is first step. And one way to do that is to connect with your womb space. It is not difficult at all. You can put your hands, I call it the inverted triangle, because it mimics our womb, the size and the shape of our womb. And you put it right over your womb, which is right underneath your navel. And you can breathe into her and just say, hello, how are you? Make your presence known and send some good energy to her, and she'll talk to you, and you'll start to hear that subtle voice called intuition start to come back to you. So acknowledging your womb space is the first step to tapping into that feminine energy.
Yeah.
Peace, Empress. Peace, peace, peace. She says her
Dancing.
favorite way to ground is to put her bare feet on the ground.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We was just saying that. It's amazing. It's really healing.
Yeah.
Really, really healing. Second favorite is hugging a tree. I was
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
say that. Man, I've been hugging trees all while I've been in Florida. My family think I'm crazy. We just be
Oh yeah.
chilling and vibing. I go run and hug a tree.
Listen, I was at our fair and I thought that this man had on a shirt that said tree hugger. And I'm like, oh, I really love that shirt. And it did not say that. Okay. But that's just where my mind is. Like, I'm like, yeah, that's because that's the frequency I'm on. Let me go find one right now.
Oh, that's the mind. That's that frequency you vibrating on. So you're gonna see what you
Yeah.
want to see,
I would
baby.
see what I wanted to see. And I wanted to see that a tree hugger. I want the world to be full of tree huggers. Okay.
All
So
right. And you probably made an impact on him. So he probably out here hugging trees now. So
I didn't say anything to him. I was just the person I was with. I told him like that look, his shirt say tree hugger, and he was like, no, it doesn't. I was like, to me, yes, it did. You can't tell me
in
nothing
my
else.
mind,
Yeah.
that
So,
is too funny. Oh
mhm.
my gosh, that is hilarious. But yeah, this is it's really it's powerful what you can do with just simple things like tapping into nature. Um like just like it's funny because it's subtle things you can cue in on. Like now that I'm here and I have learned to put my phone down, like you were saying, and I'm present and I'm like that on the water. So I've done that as a form of meditation repeatedly.
Mhm.
So when I'm out there, I can sense when there's a storm coming because I can look at the wildlife. If it starts to scatter and
Yeah.
it's clear and the water starting to get rough and I can
Yeah.
feel that coolness coming, you use your senses to tap in.
You're aware.
You're
Your
aware.
your attention isn't focused on the phone or what's going on, who's calling, who might be. You can really tap into what now to the now.
You
Um,
can.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. So, I was also going to say about tapping into the femininity. I had to write a letter to myself, to my womb space, and like ask for forgiveness for certain things that I allowed, for people that I allowed, that took advantage in certain ways. You just kind of got to start there and releasing that pain so you can make space for the newness, for your feminine energy. Because if we don't release those barriers that are formed through trauma, we don't really we subconsciously are going to act out of our masculine energy because we don't feel safe. So
Mhm.
we have to get into a space of safety, and I feel like that was key for me in even being able to start tapping into my feminine energy more and balancing it out. Because if you don't feel safe, you're gonna always have that like fight or flight, that oh no, what's up with you type, you
And
know.
that makes sense because it goes back into being grounded. That's root chakra,
Yeah.
survival and safety. So you got to tap into that root chakra.
Yep.
And really and truly, it takes accountability too. It's a whole journey.
It
You
is.
know, I would say the first step is awareness, like you're saying, and just and becoming aware of what it is that I need to. I'm looking to what is my end goal in this
Hmm.
thing? What am I looking to release, and what am I looking to gain here?
Yeah.
And the journey is the steps that you're going to take to get there.
Yep.
And if you don't feel safe, you ain't operating in feminine energy.
Nope.
So a woman, I began to thrive on my journey when I partnered with my husband because he provided a source of comfort, a lot like I felt like a almost like a mothering
Hmm.
comfort. Like I would feel from my mom, like the same energy I get when I'm around my mom, and she just like, baby, it's gonna be all right. I get that from him. And with that, I'm able to create from a space of flowing, not survival and fight or flight and worried about what's going to happen next and looking over my shoulder because I feel safe. And that's having a grounded root chakra. And that was big for me because I was the one, I'm an Aries, first of all. I'm a woman and I'm a manifested generator. So I wanted to be the producer, the actor, the director. I wanted to do it all because that's how I was learned. That's how I learned from the get go. That
Right.
was my specialty. So I took pride in that. So having someone to come in and allowing me to be vulnerable was a whole ordeal. I tried to run. I
Yeah.
said, this man trying to take my power. No, he was trying to allow me to release all of that I was carrying that I didn't have to, but I
Right.
didn't know what that looked like. I was in survival mode. Attack, attack. Where the hell this man come from? I literally tried to run and he knew better. Thank goodness. And he was persistent. I didn't run him off. And it really allowed me to be a nurturer, a mother, a wife, and just operating in femininity and flowing to be just to feel like me, to tap into me. So feeling safe is huge. Empress says the wildlife is always giving clues. Presence is present. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Always giving. If you want to find the answer, look into nature. Go
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
Getting away from I don't like women also helps with tapping into feminine energy. Oh, let's tap into this one, sis. Let's tap into this one because women often say, I just don't get along with other women.
I was one of those. Yeah.
Well, I was one of those for a very long time.
Yeah.
Grew up with a lot of sisters. So we had a sistership within the house. It was a lot of us, and I was tired of them on some days. So it really didn't matter if I had friends outside the house or not. So we became toxic in that.
Mm.
That nobody needs nobody attitude. And all women are, because we're groomed to be that way.
Competitive. Yeah, we're grown to be competitive for sure.
Absolutely. And I think that if you notice now, I'm not telling you you gotta be buddy buddy and kumbaya with every sister you meet, but I am saying that if you notice on a consistent basis that you're the one that's the single one out and you're saying, oh, I just don't mess with them. And the same patterns are happening in every relationship, it's not all women. It's something that you are allowing
Hmm.
or a boundary that you're not upholding with yourself. There's some type of signal that you're giving that's allowing these people to think that it's okay to come in your house and step all on your couch. You
Yep.
know, so I think that we also have to go internal and be accountable because I can say, hey, I've been through a traumatic or abusive relationship, but I can also say I was at a place where I didn't love myself enough to know that there wasn't love.
Right.
I can also say that I was in a place where I had no business dating. I should have been somewhere getting some help,
Right.
coming whole before I was out there introducing broken pieces of me to other people and allowing them to treat me any kind of way.
Right.
So people gonna be who they are. They gonna do their thug thizzle. They gonna do what they want to do. But are you gonna allow that in your life? And that's when we take our power back by saying, I'm not gonna allow that. That's not acceptable for me.
Yeah.
You can do that,
Or
but that's not
even
okay for me.
yeah,
Boundaries.
yeah, boundaries. Or even really self-checking. Because for me, I'm an only child, and I had older parents who neither one of them was emotionally available.
Mhm.
So for me, I kind of always longed for that sense of like sisterhood, that real, and I showed up like that. However, I had to learn like I cannot expect that from everyone else because that's not anyone's responsibility to give that to me. So I had to like start giving it to myself. And then what I realized in that is a lot of the friends that I had, because I was looking for a certain, you know, type of love or something. I was accepting the little crumbs that they were giving me out of that need. And once that need, I started healing that need, they weren't really my friends. I
Mhm.
quickly found out, they were really there just because I had developed a people pleasing way about me to get that love that I thought I needed from other people. Um, so once that happens, once you heal, a lot of your behaviors heal, and then you really get to see people for who they are and how they are to you as
That's
their true
fact.
self.
Hold
Yeah.
on, I got a repairman coming. So hold on 1 second. Let me let these people
Okay.
in. Hold on, y'all. Hold up. 1 second. Okay.
Okay.
I didn't know if anybody was here. I'm here. I'm from a live video. The background is muted, so it's fine. She told me where she said it was either, that's not by the outfit, said they're sending the road around, but she said the clean out usually is in the pantry and it's a 6-inch cap. And I don't see no freaking pantry in it. I mean, I don't see.
Sis,
All right.
you're not on mute, by the way.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay.
Y'all, we got some stuff going on over here in the house. We can take care of. We got to get a repair. All right. So anyway, back to the whole ordeal. So what were we?
We were talking about the accountability for self-healing yourself, so that a lot of your the things you allow kind of dissipate, and once you heal yourself, yeah.
Yeah, so and I think that ties into boundaries really, really heavily, because with boundaries we decide like what's acceptable for us, what's not acceptable. Just and I think about boundaries like doors, open doors. If you don't have boundaries, people can just come in and do what they please, in and out. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay. Okay. All right. Just as long as they're coming, it works for me. Thank you so much. All right. I'll be waiting. All right. All right. All right, y'all. Monday is busy around here. We got to get this stuff
You
taken
gotta
care
get
of.
it done, yeah.
It don't
We
stop.
have
I
a
thought I had Crisp on here, y'all. Christmas failed me. It's supposed to mute my background, but it did. So I want my $14 back. Shout out to Chris. Yeah. It really worked when I was filming the class, because my family is very active and they require my attention. So I just knew it was gonna work today, but no. But that's cool though. We're gonna keep flowing.
yeah, it's all
Boundaries.
good.
And we talk about this in the course as well. Even if you're just looking at ways to get started, check out the Podia site, because it gives small prompts onto what is being introduced in ways that you can get started on your wound wellness journey. Furthermore, we have the workbook. It's only $5.55, and that is a plethora of knowledge to get you started. Maybe you're not ready to dive into a full-fledged journey right now, but that's another way. There's resources available, but a lot of people don't even know what boundaries are. I know for me, for a long time, I didn't know what boundaries were.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how many people were crossing boundaries, So I was like, and then I felt bad about upholding them when I was like, no, I can't do that. Or when I had to say, I can't attend that event, or I'm not available for that. I had to learn not to feel guilty, or not to feel like I was the bad person, because some people,
Right.
when you stop giving, they'll make you feel bad.
Right.
And if you fall victim to that, that's manipulating your energy.
Yeah.
If you're upholding a boundary and doing something to preserve yourself, and that's your intention, and somebody doesn't like that, maybe you need to reevaluate their relationship and reestablish more boundaries in a way that you don't disconnect, but you let this person know, no, you're not gonna come at me like that. And I think about just people I have in my life, and certain people that I know in my family, my friends, you just don't do certain things with, or say certain things around. Like my mom, there's a certain type of language that I use around her. That's a boundary that I have with her. So it's just food boundaries with spirituality, religion. It's so much. And when we don't establish those boundaries, people don't know what we're giving mixed signals.
Right.
But we can establish a boundary that we haven't, we don't know ourselves.
Right.
So we're out here just guessing, and maybe I want to do this because it's not going to upset her, or I want to people please her, so I'm going to do it this way. And we're becoming all of these things for everybody and not ourselves.
Right.
So it's really important to get to know yourself. Know yourself.
Or you
What
could
you
go
like and what you don't like.
the whole other end of the spectrum is setting really unhealthy boundaries, because that's after I was a people pleaser, I had super unhealthy boundaries because I didn't heal in
Mhm.
between, so I started setting boundaries like, oh, that's how you, okay, I'm not going to tell, like ghosting was my thing, like, oh, I'm done, blocked, gone, you'll never talk to me again. It could be small, like little small, what I call discrepancies.
Mhm.
I was like, oh, I don't do second chances. Like that was my whole like, nope, you did it once, you'll do it again. I'm not dealing with you. Type,
Mhm.
and that was just because I wasn't healing. So now I'm not coming in a space of empathy or compassion or
Mm.
any of that. It's just like, nah, you did it, you're done. So that was my more aggressive masculine energy.
Yeah.
And so I didn't realize that, I'm thinking, oh, I'm protecting myself. I didn't heal my people pleasing ways. And
Yeah.
now I'm just no, 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 all over the place, but it wasn't balanced still.
Yeah.
I went from one end to the other. And now I'm finding my way to the middle. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I love that you shared that because sometimes we'll carry that S on our chest and we'll carry it in such a way to where it's toxic.
Yes.
I can do this all by myself. I'm gonna give you one chance, and that's it. And that's how I used to. That was my motto. Like, you show me yourself one time, and I'm gonna believe you. But that lacks so much compassion because
Yeah.
you don't. You a lot of us don't really give insight into how somebody really feels in that moment, what they're going through. And that lacks empathy. And what we really should be saying, if maybe someone doesn't show up in the way that you feel like they should have, what's going on? How can I assist? Rather than saying, oh, I'm throwing you to the curb. That's toxic. You ain't even had a conversation or anything. And I was guilty of that too.
Right.
Like, you know what you did, sis. But that's
Yeah.
also our perception
Yeah,
because,
sometimes people really don't,
yeah,
and they thinking oh, well, I thought or it could be as if, oh, I texted you, didn't get it. And
yeah,
you really just didn't get it. And you thinking they ignored you, playing you to the left. And this could be solved so simple with a follow up. But no, because nope, she did that and I'm done. It's like, but why? Now you done with a whole
yeah.
relationship. Yeah, yeah, come a long
And I
way.
think that's a part of communicating. For me, it took bravery and courage because I had to stand up for myself. Sometimes people would do things that would trigger me or make me feel a way, and I'd be like, ain't nowhere in the world she didn't know that made me feel that way. But people don't know your story like you know your story.
Yeah.
And sometimes we get in our head and we start to develop this whole storyline of stuff that didn't happen.
Yeah, yeah,
And I love the fact that I can talk to my husband about a lot of things because he's honest and he like, no, sis, you need to go on back and check yourself. That's all you. That's all
yeah,
you do. And it's silly because I didn't develop a whole thought system in my head, and I was 100% just acting out of trauma, acting out of past experiences.
right,
So I'm grateful for, and I think that's why we need more safe spaces.
right.
So we are developing the Sacred Womb Healing Circle. We had the group.
Yeah,
And we're going to be going live in there. I want to do, we're going to start with monthly and we'll see,
okay,
how things go. But we're going to do exercises. We're going to share our experiences. And it's for people who have enrolled in the course and people who haven't. It's completely free. It's an open space. It's a protected space per se. Like I've done groups like this before, and we don't do drama, we don't do foolishness. It's about healing is the move. You know what I'm saying? And we're
yeah,
there to uplift each other and to be honest and real and raw. And that's ties me to what I was saying about courage. Like it was a lot of things of like how people made me feel, and I was ashamed or afraid to make myself like vulnerable to say, hey, you hurt my feelings, sis. And like I didn't like that. So
right,
instead of me saying that, I would just run away or shut them off. When in fact, I could have just had a conversation and that person didn't even know. You know what I'm saying? So I had to just really develop enough confidence to say it's worth having this conversation. So if you value this relationship, maybe you should talk to this person rather than just throwing the baby out with the bathwater because you've invested in this relationship. And
right.
we need to normalize having healing conversations and stop for one doing subliminals on social media. My God. Like I tell my husband all the time, like we laugh at it, but it's really not funny when we see people throwing shots like subliminals. It's pointless. It's
Yeah,
such a waste of energy. First of all, you're gonna get a whole audience of people who just like mess, is low vibrational. They're going to be just tagging it on, just feeding it to the person who you're trying to communicate the message to.
Probably
They
don't.
may or may not get it, or
Yeah.
they're going to have all type of assumption. It's just going to produce anger and more frustrations. It's not going to solve your problem.
Yep.
Okay. And three is kind of childish. I don't beat me up, y'all, but it is because it's saying that I'd rather have a conversation with millions of people rather than one person whom I'm having this direct conflict with. It's
Yeah.
projecting and it's offsetting and it's not really mature behavior.
And it's really a reach for validation. You know what I mean? Do you really feel like what you're saying is true?
Yeah.
Because if you did, then you really wouldn't need nobody else's opinion or validation to your own feelings, you know? And that in itself is a red flag. Like, well, maybe I need to check and see if my feelings are accurate, you know,
Yes.
or if my position or my stance is do I really need to take this position or stance? Because oftentimes when you're reaching for that validation, it's because you're questioning yourself.
Yep. And
So
that is so true. And you can get all the clarity you need by having a conversation with that person.
yeah.
Or just or not even having a conversation, making your setting that boundary. Say, okay, if somebody say, for instance, you had a meeting with somebody and they stood you up, and you just say, okay, you can either say, okay, forget them, I forget them, I'm just gonna write them off, they don't exist anymore. That's toxic. Or you can say, hey sis, I really, really value your time. So I, would just love if you did the same thing in return. When you didn't show up for our meeting, it feel like you didn't value my time or you didn't value our agreement to meet at this certain time. Like I want this relationship to continue or I don't, but I felt like I wasn't being honored in a way that I should have, or however it made you feel. And instead of saying, "Oh, you ain't dependent, and you made me feel," no, you allow yourself to feel a way.
Right.
Somebody can't make you feel a way that you don't choose to feel. It's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So you can tell that person their action and how that action made you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And allow them to respond how they may. But that in itself allows you to process that emotion instead of keeping it stuck and saying, okay, my feelings is hurt and they didn't show up, so I'm just gonna go on. And then what if the next person that next time or another person that happens again, you're gonna cut off everybody who don't show up for me? You're
Right.
gonna be by yourself. So it's really
Yeah.
important that we check ourselves. Rosalind says, how do we find and release trauma from the body? Is that root as well? That's root, that's womb, that's heart, that's all body. Trauma is held in a lot of different spaces, primarily the womb, because the womb is like a tape recorder. It has memories. It goes back. Okay, it's ancient. So the root and the root, the sacral, you got just where it depends on the trauma. It
Mm-hmm.
really depends on the trauma. So what I would recommend is just doing a full body sacral chakra alignment. If you do that type of thing, yoga, or just tapping into you and see what you need. For me, it was a lot of throat chakra area. I had problems speaking up for myself or standing up for myself. So I had to work on that. Sometimes
Yeah.
I would be over talkative and I had to balance that out. So being aware and being present with yourself will tell you where you need to start releasing the trauma. And you can do that in countless ways. Yoga, chiropractor, herbs, steaming, chanting, meditation,
Yeah.
present, sunbathing. There's so many ways. It's countless. So that's root. It can be root, but you
Yeah.
can start there, but it can
Start
vary.
by you got to start by listening to yourself,
Mhm.
and that in a lot of different situations, just as we were speaking of, where you're triggered is usually your source of trauma. Those times that you're triggered, if somebody says something specific to you that you didn't like, instead of reacting, stop right there and be like, okay, why did that bother me?
Mhm.
And then you'll usually like work backwards, and then you'll usually be able to find the root of the source of the trauma, and then be able to work on that. Or you could find an energy worker, a Reiki specialist, such as myself, or there's other people, wherever you live in your local city or state. And that's what they do. That's what they're there for. Reflexology, Reiki, these type of Ayurvedic practices are there to show you where the blockages are, help you release them, navigate them around, and work with you. But again, just be mindful of the person that you're working with. Again, like healers or people that practice these methods should be giving you tools to take home and do it yourself. Like after a while, you shouldn't need them, So if they're setting up a situation of dependency, then that's not the right situation to be in. So
Mhm. Absolutely. I completely agree. And we have to remember what energy is basically our hormones create the energy. When we get back to masculine and feminine hormones, and that can collect in our muscles, that can collect in our womb space, that can collect anywhere. And if we don't release that, I think about I was watching a clip from P Valley, it's all over social media. And the lady was saying 7 pounds of pressure was on her arm, and he was helping, the Reiki therapist was helping to release that pressure. That is nothing that's like ooga booga out
Mm.
of this world. It is literally it's
Energy movement flowing.
literally, I'm saying, like, it's nothing short of
Yeah,
energy being caught and trapped in a certain area. No
it's like
more, no
a
more different than having.
chiropractor, like
Hmm,
a chiropractor. The only
absolutely.
thing is you can't hear the pops and the cracks and the, you know what I mean? Because energy don't have that type of sound, but you can feel it when it's released, you know? So it's really the same thing. They pushing on your shoulder, you get a pop, and you like, oh, that feels so, like it's the same
It's
thing
all
as
energy.
energy work, you know? So yeah. Yeah, that was one of my favorites. I was glad they incorporated that in there.
Yeah, that was nothing short of Reiki. That
Yeah,
was.
that's all it was. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I was, the term I was trying to think of today is physics. Just thinking about physics and how the law of energy works and all of that. And you can find these things in these books that people like trust so much, and that's fine if that's the way you get your resource. But it's nothing more than that you can find in a lot of these books about science and how energy works and Newton laws of motion and all of that. It's really all energy at the end of the day, and it's really nothing to be afraid of.
Right.
Tap into, whatever you need to do or however you feel that you need to release that energy. Sometimes I release energy by dancing or even clapping. Clapping clears energy. Gongs, hitting a gong. That's like one of the most ancient sounds. That deep sound that people make while meditating. The gong mimics that as well, and it's like a reset. It
Yeah.
allows a reset. So even
Sound.
if swimming, it's so many
Yeah.
different ways to
I
clear energy.
yeah, that's that. I when I go to sleep, I'll put on a frequency at night. YouTube, they have good videos, you know, even with the pictures and stuff. And I'll go to sleep to some type of whatever I need. I
Hmm.
will find the frequency so that it tunes me while I'm sleeping. And that's the easy way to try and work on your any chakra that you need, because when you're in your I forgot, REM sleeping is, you know, those different states of sleep,
Hmm.
that REM sleep and stuff, and you're actively playing those frequencies and stuff. It's working on your subconscious, you know.
It's
It's
the
working
delta waves. It's allowing you to record that.
exactly. So
Yep.
yeah, that's one of the things that I do as a tip. But we have another question.
Susanna said, if you feel like a friend was not there in a very hard time in your life, how do you approach the conversation to let them know that they hurt you? I would say, first of all, just first and foremost, my number one thing is when someone does something, and if you're not heated to the point where you feel like you're going to act out of rage or anger, or you're not balanced, let them know about that infraction as soon as possible. Don't sit on it, because you're going to start to be spiteful, maybe vengeful. You'll start to get some regrets, or however it is. You'll start to say, well, maybe it wasn't that bad, I'm gonna just let it slide this time. Or you'll try to recall that event, and that person is like, I did what? I don't even remember that. And they can just say they don't remember at all, and now you just sitting here looking silly and your feelings still hurt. Nothing was solved. So as soon as possible, recount that exact event. Let's say this person didn't answer your phone call when you felt like you needed them most, and you felt hurt, and you need to let them know, hey sis, I know that we were planning to talk, you didn't answer my phone call, it made me feel alone, it made me feel hurt, and I really needed you then, and I wanted to let you know how that hurt me, because I want a relationship where we can communicate, and I can call you when I feel like it's appropriate, or however you want to carry that conversation on. But letting them know exactly what happened and how you feel, not saying, oh, you aren't reliable because you don't know what that person is going through, you don't know where they are in their life. So that's having compassion, with saying, hey, what's going on, because I was looking forward to us talking, and when you didn't show up, I kind of felt my feelings was hurt. Just really being vulnerable enough to say my feelings were hurt, because some people be like, oh, fuck her, I ain't worried about it, and all the time your feelings hurt. You felt like she stood you up, and you don't process that, you suppress it, and it just shows itself the moment it gets its chance. And sometimes it leads us to overreact. So I would say tap into that space as soon as possible and let her know exactly what she did by recounting the exact event of how you remember it, and letting her know how you feel, and just saying like, how can we move forward with this and not have this happen again, developing a plan of action.
Yeah. Um, I would say a few things. Um, I would say just one, make sure that you don't show up to the conversation with a sense of entitlement, because no one, she didn't owe you that. You know what I mean? Like, now a friendship is definitely a friendship, but maybe at that time she didn't have it to give, and that we have to be empathic to others in that regard as well. It's like, well, I have learned that I made it a practice to ask people before I even speak to them, like, hey, do you have space for this? I have to share something with you. You know what I mean? Or can you hold space for me? Like, I'm going through something. Like, I've made it a courtesy of mine to ask someone before I expect them to hold my weight. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So I feel like that's really important in our sisterhood. And, because I was the friend that held all the weight and all the crosses and nobody asked me if I wanted to. So sometimes, you gotta kind of start there, like, um see if that is even something that she wants out of that friendship. Sometimes their friends just want to go out and hang out and be there for the good times. Maybe
And
she's
that's
not.
where boundaries come into play. Let them
Yeah,
know what your requirements are with having a friendship with you, and they can accept or decline.
right,
So,
right.
and it's not, and I think it's a sense of entitlement too, but you don't even know what it is without a conversation. You
Mm-hmm.
got to talk to that person first. So that was an example I gave. Now I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah,
you
yeah.
you just expecting people to answer their phone for you and let me wait a minute. I need to cry on your ear. Don't allow people to continue to bleed, especially if you don't have it to give. Please honor your boundaries and saying, not today, sis. But if you just stand somebody up, maybe you can throw them a phone call ahead of time and say, sis, I just ain't got it today. Or sis, this just ain't the best day for this
Yeah.
conversation. Being mindful, but also knowing that, hey, I'm not entitled to this person's time, but also it's a balancing act, setting a boundary
Exactly.
and saying, with this friendship, I expect you to, when you say you're going to do something, you're going to come through for me or not, because a lot of people are building issues with trust.
Yeah.
Trust the sisters, and if you're gonna say all I got is your word, but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, things happen. So we
Yeah.
gotta communicate, we gotta
and
flow.
and different people operate differently. You know what I mean? Like, I have some friends that I know, like, nah, I'm not gonna call them when I'm going through something, because they're not that friend to hold that space for me. This is the friend I call when I want to go enjoy myself or have a good time. And then there are some friends who, oh, I know they're gonna give me some good feedback, some good words of encouragement, good things that so you kind of have to um revisit your friendships and your relationships and see, because even if you don't ask somebody, like, hey, you got the space to give me, or can you hold this for me? Some people don't know how to tell you that they can't, so they will
Mhm.
end up just not being there, because it's
Boundaries.
like, I can't do that. I'm not good with emotions. I have some friends, like, I don't want to be around you when you're crying. I'm not good with that, and I don't want to talk about it too many times. I'm okay with that. So I know, like, okay, I'm not gonna go to you with this one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna follow up, so it's just, there's different ways. But yeah, like the goddess was saying, just have that conversation. But the important thing that you want to come from your conversation is that you guys are on the same page about how you're relating to each other. Maybe y'all just the good time friends. And then that'll take your feelings off the table when she's not there or he's not there for the bad times, or
Right.
the heavy times, because you already know, like, that's not their duty. They don't want to
Mhm.
be that
We
friend.
gotta fortify ourselves. We gotta
Exactly.
fortify ourselves and not become codependent.
Exactly.
We're gonna have sisterhoods to help uplift us, but when our sister's not available, we gotta be able to pick ourselves up off our own shoulders and
Right.
say, I gotta stand up and fly
Yeah.
right.
And
You gotta be whole within
it
ourselves.
won't hurt so much when you've already, like, okay, anything else is extra, but I know
Yep.
how to give me. You know what I mean? And it's like a lot of stuff won't hurt, because it's like, well, I didn't need it, but I definitely appreciate the extra
Mhm.
that you gave, because I gave myself everything already.
Absolutely. And we
Mhm.
need that community. We need each other because everybody has their medicine. Some people do Reiki, some people do herbs, some people do birthing, some whatever it is. Some people just smile and just be. you know. And I think that we need that community, but in order for us to be and hold that space in this big puzzle, we got to be whole and have our whole puzzle piece. Elevating Energy said, I told a friend before, she told me she didn't care, she would do the same thing again. I released her soon after that conversation. That's upholding a boundary. I won't allow that in my life. You could have said, okay, I'm gonna continue this, I can just expect her to be who she want to be. But if that's causing you detriment, it's time
Right,
for us to separate
right.
in love. I love you, sis,
Yeah,
and I can expect you to do exactly what you're doing. I love you anyway, but I got to, just allow a little distance for my
yeah.
sanity, because people gonna do what they're gonna do, but you are you gonna allow that into your life? And when somebody shut off communication, they said it's just how I am. They've now shut off their willingness to grow with you and
Right.
that relationship, and that's not someone that's valuing.
It's dead weight at that point. Yeah.
I didn't talk to her at all. This is Trizana, because every time I reach out to her, she was telling me she was busy and never returned my calls. So I felt like she didn't agree with my home birth and blamed me for the loss of my baby. Oh my goodness. Well, I think there's a whole lot. That's layers.
Yeah.
It's layers to that. And when someone doesn't agree with us, that does not mean that they're bad. That
Right.
means that their perspective is theirs. And if they can't agree with you having your views and thought and belief systems and them having theirs and y'all be able to still be friends, that's probably not someone you want to keep close, especially when it comes to birthing at home and all of that. And if someone's not returning your calls, they probably don't want to be bothered. We don't want to force our way into anyone's life, and they're probably putting up a boundary because she's probably afraid for you, or maybe she's saying, oh, she's
Yeah.
crazy, and
Yeah.
who knows what her feelings are.
And I
But it's
was gonna say that might have been her. That might have been her love. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Instead of her giving you negative feedback and negative energy about your decisions, maybe she just chose not to say anything. You know, so like, don't look at it as a negative thing. Maybe that was her best option for the situation. You know, and the best way she felt like she could deal with it, because you don't want to, if that was your decision and she was totally against it or didn't agree with it, like, what did you want her to say? Like, no, don't, and just give you, her reasons why not, versus just allowing you to go through your process, so
and she's probably going through her process too. It's a
right.
loss, not just a loss for you, it's a loss for everybody. And I'm sending my love to you. I know you
Yes.
personally, baby, and I'm always sending you love, always, always, and I got you. However, we got to just know that everybody don't have the same views as us.
Hmm.
Everybody won't always agree with us. If we all had the same perspective, we would be very boring, and we can sing kumbaya. Why not? By not having the same belief systems. And you're right, Nani. That's maybe her. That's she's doing the best that
Right.
she can.
And then I'm reading this again, like, don't feel like that because you don't know. You know what I mean? Have the conversation, because you might be just filling in the blanks that aren't even there. You know what I mean? Like,
She's saying she's not returning her calls, so maybe that is filling in the blanks and saying that right now she's probably processing it, or
I'm
she.
talking about the reason why, because she was saying she didn't return my call, so I felt like she didn't agree with my home birth and blamed me. You know
Oh,
what I'm
okay.
saying? Like,
That's an assumption.
that's an
Yeah.
assumption, and we can ruin relationships that way. So that's why I'm like, maybe don't assume that. Maybe try to talk to her one more time. If she don't really return your calls, then okay, yeah, we're not gonna beg or force. However, don't put that on yourself. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to feel extra judged when she may not be judging you.
And you don't need anybody's validations for
You
your decision,
don't.
the way that you birth or any decision that you
Yeah,
make. You are an
you don't.
entire adult and a sovereign being, and we don't need anybody's permission to do
Mm-mm.
what we do, even if they don't agree.
Yeah.
Um, so
And
yeah,
the
it's a lot
results.
to process.
Yeah, or the results. So
She said it's been about 6 months, and she don't know if it's even worth approaching. That's for you to evaluate. Is this
exactly.
even worth me revisiting? Because again, people can only do the best that they can. Are you willing to accept the best that they're putting forward?
Yeah.
It's okay for her to, say go ghost you for 6 months, 7 months, and you want to still salvage that relationship because maybe you value that relationship that much, then move forward with it. But don't beat yourself up and
Right.
beat yourself down trying to force something that doesn't fit. And maybe she's just not available for you right now. And
Yes.
that's
Have
okay.
her own.
Manifest because that's a lot for anybody to process. So maybe she's just in the process of, maybe her grief cycle, or maybe her reevaluating, hey, her belief system. Who knows? But at the same time, we don't want to delay our healing process or create blockages because we're wanting somebody to agree with us or to see things a certain way, because we're trying to look for outside validation. Validate your own. It's been a long-term friendship, 10 plus years. It don't matter. It don't matter. If it's not benefiting or serving anymore, time, yeah,
Yeah.
it ain't worth
People
you
have
concentrating yourself.
people have seasons too, in our lives. Like people can be seasonal as well, long term or short term. So don't let that be the reason why you put down your boundaries.
Facts. Facts. So, yeah, I think that you need to just continue to
Yeah.
heal. You got a lot of layers of healing to do. And don't become overly dependent upon, if you felt like you made the right decision, if you felt like, what are your feelings about it? And how everybody else feels, it's not even really relevant at that point, but that is a process.
Usually your
That
gut is your intuition, and you made the decision to not reach out and not for a reason. You know what I mean? So don't second guess it. You don't even need our validation or approval. You know what I
that
mean? Like, how you felt, why you felt it. That's all you need.
That's it. That's it. So I feel like you have innate wisdom that
Yeah.
was programmed in you since before time,
Yeah.
and just tap into that. That's why we got to get to know our womb space,
Yeah.
because that's where that guidance,
And
that internal
sometimes
compass.
people do us favors by leaving our lives. You know what I mean? So just, flow.
Keep flowing. Like you said, people have seasons. They come
Yeah.
and they go. And sometimes we elevate to a certain area. And I can speak for myself. A lot of people, first of all, I'm steady growing. I'm steady
Yeah.
learning. I'm not the person that I was. Hell, when we started this live video, I'm steadily
Yeah.
evolving. It's a
Every day.
constant process. And sometimes blockages happen in people's lives, traumas, contentment, being comfortable, and they get in a certain space, and when you continue to flow or elevate, that you sometimes there's a gap that comes in
Yeah.
between you, and they can't hear you or they don't relate to those things. Maybe I remember I was on the phone with a person, and I'm gonna call her out, but she was saying, oh, they don't like to hang with me no more because I don't drink no more and I don't party like I used to, and they looking for that fun person. It's not necessarily fun or not, but what you consider fun, that new version of you doesn't what they consider fun, that new version of you don't consider fun anymore. So now it's time for you to attract a new set of tribe sisters. And
Right.
that's okay. Don't mean you don't love them any less, but you, like you were saying, Nani, certain friends or certain people you relate to, you do certain things with
Yeah.
boundaries. You're respecting their boundaries by saying, well, you're respecting your own by saying, I don't want to go around them and drink because I don't drink anymore. I'm not going to just drink because y'all want to have a good time and act the fool. I don't want to do that to myself. So
Right.
that's upholding your boundary. It's all just it's such a sport. It's such a
It's a
balancing
balancing
act.
act.
Yes, it's a balancing act, and knowing when to hold them and when to fold them. But you don't know that if you don't know yourself.
Right.
Like you really, it is like it sounds so cliche. Get to know yourself, tap
Yeah.
into yourself,
Yeah.
but it is so
I
vital. Like
give the example to people like my clients in my coaching groups that I tell them, I'm like, we just have to learn how to listen to our head coach. That little voice, I give the example of, like, if you ever been at a light and you don't know which direction to go, and that first voice is like, go right, and then there's another voice that's like, nah, go left, go with the first voice,
mhm,
because every time you haven't gone with that first voice and you like, dang, I went the wrong way. It never fails. And that's a good, like, that's how I started learning to listen to my intuition. Like, I
yeah,
just used to do little exercises like that. Like, all right, I know what I heard first, but I also know, you know what I mean? And so that's kind of just like the balance between the intuition and the ego. It's like that little, the intuition isn't aggressive. It's not pervasive. It's not going, it's going to be
it's
soft
gentle,
and
baby.
subtle.
She's
And
feminine. She feminine. She ain't
yes.
gonna holler and scream at you. She gonna whisper.
So exactly. So that little whisper, we got to learn how to really tap in and tune into that. And that's where, you won't let it be led astray for sure.
That is so very true. Like we definitely have to tap into us and listen. And like you said, those exercises, even simple, allowing yourself that guidance. And for me, nursing school did that.
Mm,
learning, taking standardized exams because
mm.
I would put an answer and then go back and change it. And then I got the wrong answer. And I was like, dang, I
Yeah.
should have kept that answer. And taking so many exams, time after time after time, I've learned to trust my intuition
Trust
because I'm like,
yourself.
oh, I ain't changing it. You got that first answer. And that's the first
Yeah.
thing I learned, like with NCLEX test taking skills. Don't you ever change your answer. And
Mm.
I've learned that whatever that gut feeling is, like the gut is the first brain. Whatever that
Don't.
gut feeling is,
Yeah.
go with
That's
it.
why
The
they
gut
say don't second guess yourself. That's
don't
why
second
they
guess
say that. That's law. Like don't second guess yourself. Go with whatever
yourself.
you felt at first, you know. And
But we
so
gotta learn that voice of what's intuition, what's doubt.
yeah,
What's
yeah.
that intuitive voice, what's doubt, and that takes practice.
Yeah, yeah, it does. That's why I'm like, I've learned kind of the subtle differences. It's like that doubt is loud and it's like, no, do this. But the intuition is that little like did you hear me? You know, it's like, did I hear that right? It's kind of like, oh, let me listen again. Like that one to be, very subtle and very feminine, like you said, very like we only gonna tell you once. You can do what you
Yeah,
want.
I think I'm gonna tell you what helps me because I have a lot going on up here. So when I'm trying to decipher, is this doubt or is this intuition? Where am I going? If I'm making a decision that's based in fear, meaning that am I afraid of someone, how someone's going to feel about me, what they're going to say, how they're going to view me, what's going to happen at the end result, I'm operating out of fear and my angels cannot hear me, and that is low vibrational. So that's not a seed that's going to prosper. So
Hmm.
I always say, am I operating out of love or fear? Now, if I'm making a decision out of love, hey, I got this to give, but I know I want to give it to this person to make them feel good or whatever that intention is. I'm operating out of love. I'm operating out of a high vibrational space, not operating out of low vibrational fear. Or why am I making this decision in the first place? What is it
Right.
grounded in? Is it because I'm fearing something? Am I trying to protect myself from something? Because that's grounded in fear. Or it's because love. Am I being freeing? Am I allowing or am I flowing? And that's masculine and feminine. So I always ask myself, am I making this decision out of love or fear?
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Great gems. Before we go though, sis, I wanted to make sure we didn't forget about the men. You know what I mean? Like, and because a lot of men do not understand that they encompass feminine energy as well, and how important it is to actually be balanced with the feminine energy too. And how much like in relating to us as women, like we need that from them too. Like y'all can't just be all extra aggressive and masculine,
Yeah,
trying to handle me, you know. So yeah,
I mean,
yeah. So I
I
just
love that you reminded me of that. Thank you.
yes. So I just wanted to, take a few minutes and really, show some love to the men who might be listening and following along because it is important for them to understand that they encompass both also. You know,
Yeah,
and that feminine energy is important so that they can recognize their feminine energy, I mean the feminine energy within us and know how
yeah.
to, nurture that properly.
I think that that is so true. I think that now, like everybody's roles are being reversed, and I can sometimes show favoritism to the divine feminine because I am a woman.
Yes.
But we definitely have to shed light on our brothers as well and realize that when I say feminine energy, it does not mean that you are a homosexual or it just that pertains to women. Because men have estrogen too. Women have testosterone. It's about balancing the two, yin and yang, dark and light, above and below. It is a balancing
Right.
act. So men get in touch with that feminine energy by showing emotion. They're taught from little bitty ones. You better not cry. Crying for sisters and for punks is mean stuff. And it's
Yeah.
telling that person to suppress their emotion. That is toxic as fuck.
Yeah.
That's terrible. So they grow up becoming with that belief system that being hard or not being able to show emotion or cry when they want to, or show love when they want to, like hugging another man or things like that, or crying amongst their peers, it's seen as a weakness instead of a strength. Remember we were talking about the term pussy. Oh, they're pussy. And that's nothing. It's really an illusion. So I think that it's really important that men are given safe spaces so
Right.
that they're not taunted or made fun of because they're showing emotions, or call names for showing emotion, but is allowing, because my husband said something. I was like, "What?" where you picked that up from? We were talking about Prince, and we were talking about there was another guy that I follow on one of these social media sites. I don't know. I think it's on here on Facebook. I ain't on many. I'm on here on YouTube, but he fluctuates from masculine and feminine, and he has everyone captivated because he's so raw. He allows his emotions to flow, so he can one day look very feminine on what we would consider feminine on the outside, and just come with a real masculine hardness from within. And then on another day, he's got this get up where he looks very masculine, and he speaks in a very flowing, creative, feminine way, and it shows a really poetic and artistic display of balancing feminine and masculine energy. And my husband said, he was telling I heard him talking to my middle son, and he said, women love men who can display softness and femininity.
Yeah.
He said, that's why people love Prince. He
Yeah.
could be feminine, and he also developed this rawness with his music. And I was like, wow, that is so true. And that's why I'm connected to that man, because he's able to display who he is. Like raw, like, and it's not even connected to a sexuality, or is he
Right.
dating a man or a woman? It's a way that he expresses
Fluid, energy
himself.
fluid, energy fluid. Like they try to confuse us with all this gender stuff, and you know what I'm saying, gender fluid and da 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 da. But they really just are trying to distract us from how energy flows, you know. And they're trying to make it very 3D when these are all very 5D spiritual experiences. You know, even the way that the brain, we have a left and a right brain. The left brain is our creativity, our intuition, our, you know, but I mean the feminine side. The right side of our brain is the action, the structure, the planning, you know. So like even the way we're created in essence is to be balanced, you know.
Mhm.
But even the way that society is set up, a lot of us are having trouble tapping into our left brain, the creative side, the, you know, because even from school, like we are structured so problematically that it takes our creativity away, like even in the school system, you know. So um I get it for sure, like the importance of it, especially with men. And then as women, it's important for us to inhabit these feminine the feminine energy, because we have to have so much compassion for them, you know what I mean, like in their struggles, the way, like you were saying, like a lot of them don't know it's okay to be emotional, you know. And we mad because they're emotionally unavailable, but they don't know no other way.
That's an intelligence.
Yeah.
I just like, and Iyanla Vanzant speaks about that a lot. And I learned
Yeah.
about emotional intelligence. Sometimes we feel like, oh, these men ain't shit. It's just that they've grown up in a space of trauma.
Right.
And we lack compassion by continuing to beat them down. And Queen
Exactly.
Afua spoke. She said that we have the power to nurture and build up our men,
We
but
do.
we first have to be whole within ourselves. We can't be out here trying to save somebody with a piece of cat, saying, okay,
Exactly.
especially if you're not healed within yourself. Now, if
Exactly.
you've built your spiritual fortitude, then that's very possible. But if
Yeah.
you out here just saying, I'm going to make him whole because I can be here and present in his face, and you can't be present in your face for you,
Nope.
then there's an imbalance, my sister. And
Yeah.
so it is really important that we honor and nurture ourselves, because we're able to pour that into our kings, our partners,
Mm-hmm.
our better halves,
And we
because
the
they
first line of
benefit.
defense. You know what I'm saying? We're the first line of defense for them. And if we not whole, clear, and you know what I'm saying, intuitive, we cannot, you know, because really we lead. They just
Yeah.
show up as the leaders, to
They're
be
very
honest.
linear in their thinking. They're very organized and structured.
Yeah.
I'm going to say most men. I'm not going to say all men. They're
Right.
very organized and structured, and we can make a home a home. We
Bring
can we
it all
can make
together.
that. You can give us some tools, and we gonna make that thing magic. While
Exactly.
men are able to go out and gather and hunt and bring, and when women have had to do that, gather, hunt, and bring it. I'm not just picking on men here, because there have been some single fathers who've had to do all the things, and wear all the roles as well. But when you do that, the entire family is put at a disadvantage, and they become imbalanced, because you're not raising a child in a balanced home. So
Right.
there becomes a imbalance there. They're looking for that mother love if mom's not present. They're looking for that daddy love if dad's not present. They're going to seek that in all of their relationships until they find it. So I think it's really important that it starts with self, fortify yourself, build yourself, work on you, before we want to extend ourselves to anybody else, because we're only an extension. Our relationships are an extension of us. So if we're nurturing ourselves, we're going to receive nurturing relationships. But I just ask that we're having that compassion and that kindness with ourselves as we learn to embrace our feminine energy. We should have compassion and kindness for our partners as well, knowing that, hey, you've been through hurt, and I understand why maybe you're acting this way. Let's talk about it. Well, why aren't you speaking this way? Well, communication is important to me. What ways do you communicate best? Have you even thought about that? So it's really getting to know your partner like you know yourself, but that involves a solid foundation, because you can't give anybody anything that you haven't tapped into first. So yeah, tap into your guy self and allow your relationships become an extension of you.
Exactly. And it starts with us for real. You know what I mean? Like that's what I tell um women in general. I'm like, yeah, but it really starts with us because we're supposed to be that intuition for them. You know what I mean? Like, because we are tapped in spiritually. We're supposed to get the receive, you know what I mean? And not that they can't on their own, but they really focused on the hunt, the gather, you know what I mean? So they got to have those safe spaces to
And they need
cultivate.
softness. They
Yeah.
need softness. They don't want to come home to a woman that's jumping down their throat and screaming at them and telling them like they ain't shit when the rest of the world is telling them the same thing. Home is a place of solace and peace. And y'all work together to find that for each other. So I think that is super duper duper important for men to have that safe, sacred space and openness for to just be able to rest. And sometimes we get frustrated as having so many titles, especially as mothers.
Yeah.
We just kind of like,
And so that they know, like, vulnerability is okay. Like, I say it all the time. Like, vulnerability is a superpower. You know what I mean? And they really don't know that. They think, like, it's the worst thing ever. You know?
because they have to tap into them feelings, and sometimes them feelings don't feel so good.
Exactly.
They have to really allow those emotions to pour, and they've been taught everything that counters that. Don't talk about that. Just suppress it. Sit on to be a man about it. You better not cry. That's horrible. That's
Yeah,
terrible advice.
for sure. But that's why when we tap into our feminine energy, we can help reverse that. You know what I mean? And that's what we supposed to do.
I was actually about to say that too. When you say tapping into that feminine energy, I feel like reading the book Womb Wisdom really catapulted my spiritual journey as far as womb healing, because it really taught me what the womb was and the power that womb harnesses. So a woman, we have to think about, let's get back to science here,
Mm-hmm.
DNA and fluids. That is nothing more than genetics. If someone is accused of a crime, let's say rape, God forbid, they test for DNA because DNA contains that person's unique blueprint and genetic blueprint. If I'm a woman that's constantly building up my spiritual fortitude, I'm building up my womb house, I'm keeping it flowing and clearing, and my mate is interacting with me in that DNA in the form of my juices, he is being introduced to healing directly through me. So he was able to receive that information.
Yeah.
So it is really powerful when we talk about swapping different fluids and what that stuff contains. And that is why women harness open womb. Some people back in the day, and Empress, she was talking about this too, how women were, when we talk about sex workers, that's a deviation from people who use their womb space to allow healing tools and healing modalities into others,
Mm-hmm.
because they were just that enlightened.
Right.
They were operating with an enlightened womb space, so they were able to mate with other people and raise their vibration, heal them from sickness and other things.
It's a
So
portal.
absolutely. Absolutely.
It's a physical portal that you know what I'm saying you can have access to. And that's why I tell like guys, they think that they're supposed to be, promiscuous and stuff. And I'm like, nah, because y'all really don't understand the essence of what you're giving away. And also what you get in return. You know what I mean? Like these women, they're harvesting a lot of stuff they don't even understand. And so then you lay with them, they picking up all the stuff, and then you giving. It's more than just STDs. There's like sexual, spiritually transmitted stuff that you can get as well. And it's like, nah, it's I know the culture promotes male promiscuity and even female promiscuity now. It used to be a time where that wasn't cool, but now it's just like, but because they know the agenda on the spirit.
Mhm.
It's not even a physical thing anymore. They just know, like, go ahead and take your spirit as much as you can.
And I think that a lot of people, there are some. I think you can simply look at that in a lot of different lights. I
Hmm.
agree. When you don't intentionally mate, it becomes just a physical act, and that in itself can wreak havoc with your womb space because it can create blockages.
Yeah.
Um, and then you got people who are out here who are really evolved in their spiritual fortitude, and they're ultimate transmuters.
Hmm.
So when they're able to turn and harness sexual energy into manifestations, physical
Yeah.
manifestations of healing, but it depends on where that person is in their journey. And I don't think anybody should be promoting for anybody to just go lay down and just go do what you want to do. That's not my, if you want to, that's your thug thizzle. I ain't knocking you. Do what you got to do to get to where you need to go. However, just know those types of actions have consequences
Right.
if you don't know what you're getting into. But just know that there's really power in harnessing sexual energy. There's a lot of power in harnessing sexual energy, especially when you learn to honor that space and know your space and be able to speak affirmations into your partner during love making, being able to connect. Karma Sutra, literally connecting with your person, meditating, touching, and agreeing that this, whatever, setting an intention for the
Hmm.
love making that's about to take place. That is where the
Yeah.
magic happens, and it becomes much more than just a
The best,
physical.
the best way to manifest. You know what I mean? And if
One
you,
of the best ways, because
one
it's
of the
raw
best,
energy. And
exactly.
then the womb is a portal.
Y'all get on the same frequency with the same, like idea or mindset. Like you can make a lot of things happen for sure.
And not just with the partner, with
Right.
yourself.
With self.
With
Yeah.
yourself. We
Yeah.
teach
Yeah.
this in the class as well. With yourself. If you got that prime manifesting energy, that oxytocin, that orgasmic experience, that serotonin that's flowing in your bones and in your systems, that womb is contracting
Hmm.
and it's ready and it's prime. It's like, what you gonna give me? The engine revved up. What you gonna give me? What you're going to manifest is dependent upon what's in that womb space.
Right.
If it's cluttered, that manifestation and dream is like hitting roadblocks, trying to get through, clear that space so that highway is clear. So when you got that manifestation in mind, you ain't got to worry about that. Your spiritual hygiene is on point. What do I wear? Practicing semen retention. I bet
Human
you talk about
retention.
semen retention.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a very individual journey. I feel
Hmm.
like their semen is full of nutrients. So if a man feels like he's needed to replenish himself because he's been overextending himself sexually, then maybe he needs to. I'm procreation, so I believe in people mating and having sex when it's the time to do that. But I also believe in people building their spiritual fortitude and going through things. I fasted from sex several times in my life. So I feel like it's not a one size fits all. It's
Yeah.
not what works for not just one person. And I know a lot of people say there's a lot of benefits in harnessing semen retention and all of that. It is, but also sexual energy works directly with the immune system. And if you getting backed up and you're not really regularly or healthily that energy becomes repressed and you're denying yourself, and that manifests itself in so many ways. So there's a lot of people that are getting on celibacy journeys and they're not mentally ready, so
Mm.
now they're snapping on people, or they break and they go have sex with 8, 10, 12 women. So it's a mind body soul union
Yeah.
of, am I ready for this journey? And that is very, very individualized.
And you have to be disciplined in the practice of it, because there's different parts that go with that. Like semen retention goes also hand in hand with sex transmutation. So like if there are ways for a man to still engage in sexual activities but cycle that semen back up. You know what I'm saying? Instead of giving it out. So you can. I mean, you got to be very disciplined and practice in that. It take a little while. There's actually a couple that I follow on IG that's what they teach.
So basically, you are engaging in sex and you don't climax.
Exactly. So you just transmute it back, you cycle it back up to your brain.
This takes a lot of willpower.
It does.
I can
And
imagine how powerful that must be. I can
now,
imagine
if you
how
are, if as an energy worker, I will say like you can do it for someone.
She said her man
But
been on it for
if
6
you,
weeks.
huh?
She said her man been on been practicing semen retention for 6 weeks, and she will support him 100%. He's been a different man, and since he's been very calm. See,
Yeah,
it's an
because
individualized journey.
Yeah, he's utilizing that back to wherever it needs to go. You know what I mean? Probably wherever he was deficient is helping balancing that out. So yeah, I definitely it's a good practice. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, and then like I said, it doesn't have to be a punishment either because you can still engage. It's just mental discipline, mental strength. You know what I mean? You can still gauge,
Mhm.
and Kevin Gates talks about it all the time. Matter of fact, if you know he practices semen retention, but he has a lot of sex. You know what I mean? But he just doesn't. You know what I'm saying? He just don't climax outwardly.
Kevin
It's
Gates is different for me. I love that he's expressing himself, but I feel like you don't need to be hitting yoga poses on the red carpet. This is me telling my little feelings. I think he's overly expressing sex to spirituality. I think he's overdoing it. I think he's
yeah,
overdoing it. But I get the
he
semen
kind of
retention. It
is
only
on
makes
tour,
sense. Hmm.
but I mean, yeah, he kind of been very expressive about it lately. I'm biased about it because I feel like when people get to talking too much, it's kind of they're sacred practices for a reason. Um, but I don't know. I kind of feel like it's needed information too because he has a big following, and
I
maybe
get
that's his
that.
purpose.
I get that. I really truly. I just feel like he just need to do what works for him, and people. You and Oh, seriously. And you just decipher what works for you. I take information from people from
Yeah,
everywhere if
yeah.
I can utilize it and use it.
I take what I
And
need, leave it where the rest. Yeah,
but
for
that's
sure.
it. Eat the meat and spit out the bones. I promise you.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I can hear some of them beats on Kevin Gates, and I'd be like, yeah. Whenever my husband will play it every now and again, because I'm not a big rap like new rap fan, so
Right.
I only see him here and there, like on social media. So that's me being biased and judgmental in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's just
No,
my belief.
I don't do the social media stuff. I really watch his podcast where he
Oh,
really
I didn't even know he had a podcast
yeah, he
either.
goes on different podcasts and he really talks about his spiritual journey and like the difference between that and the image he portrays in the music industry.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, he's a native, so he's really into the healing medicines, and that's why I'm like, there's a whole different side of him that he expresses. So, yeah,
I love it for Kevin Gates. I promise you I do. I just teach things. I'm on and I'm off of social media. So I just see what I see or what my husband like, hey babe, check out this article. And what I really am finding is that like people with large followings, I just knowing how the industry is regulated.
yeah,
And what they allow to be seen and how a lot
yeah,
of things are manipulated, but there is education that needs to be had, and that person with that type of following, they can impact so many lives in so many ways,
yeah,
being positive and just learning about yoga, like what is this man doing, and they maybe want to learn about it. So I ain't knocking how nobody get what they get. They different strokes for different folks. I fucks with Kevin Gates on whatever he's doing, and I support his journey because a lot of people are looking up to him. I
yeah.
promise you, you laughing when I'm serious. I'm serious. It just
Cause I feel you.
I was
It's just,
something
I
about
feel
the yoga
you. Yeah,
red.
cause I feel you.
Yeah,
Cause it just
I'm
be
bad, but
like too much. Like, okay, you ain't have to do all that, but I get it.
I remember seeing some things that he said. He says very profound things. He's very, very, very deep. But that was just me giving my latest and greatest little 2 cents that don't even matter. You know what I'm saying? This man out here making millions and doing his stuff still a baby, living his best life.
Yeah.
Okay, so was he over here saying that shit don't even matter? Who is he? He don't even know who he is. But that was just my little 2 cents
Well,
about Kevin.
he going to, cause the world needs
Blowing up
elite.
out here. You know what I'm saying? We are growing every
We're
day. All
growing,
right.
yes. So
So,
we
but
might be the next ones on the doing the womb circles on the red carpet. Okay, like
gonna be out there with our warm hands. I ain't got warm hands. It's like, oh, doing that shit. And I'm out there with my
yeah, we got our herbs and our
see,
incense, and we go. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Oh my goodness, that was my shadow self. I was a little jealous of Kevin Gates right there. Oh, he on the red carpet doing yoga. Maybe you want to be on the red carpet doing yoga, Z. That's why you said something. No.
Yeah, see, maybe you just put it out there and you ain't even know it.
I love it. This has really, really, really been healing and restorative. Thank y'all for working with me through my plumbing issue. They fixing They're fixing my dishwasher, people. So the show must go on. I thank you so much, Nani. We happy that you just stepped back in. The show is not the show without you and your smile and your insight and all of your wisdom. Thank y'all for tapping in with us. If y'all got any few questions while I make these closing remarks, because I got to shout out my Elevate family. But it's healing. Healing is the move. When we heal ourselves, people notice differences in us, and we don't know who we inspire. People may not ever say anything to you on your journey. However, when you're presenting your best self and you're your best self, that doesn't mean we have to be perfect or look a certain way. When we are operating authentically from our heart space, meaning that what we're doing, what we're wearing, how we feeling, it feels good, it feels in alignment. That is how we win. That is how we heal. And when the more we do that, the more people get to see that and witness that, and we become real time examples of what healing looks like. So the best way that you can heal somebody and deem that title healer is to heal yourself, because you're just going to project what's already within. So y'all continue to heal yourself and
Yes.
continue to do what y'all need to do. We got this one wellness class. Let me get it going across the comment section, y'all, so y'all can check it out. At this website right here, we got the Wound Wellness class along with the doula class. We got placenta encapsulation. I am also offering one-on-one business mentorship when we're coming to talking about birthing businesses. We got so much included with the one-on-one sessions. Please check it out. We got the business tools. We got the startup. We got the logos. It is one-stop shop. Anyway, check out the Podia site. Please do so. Nani, what you got going on? What you want to promote for the people?
You guys can always find me on my website, NaniKnowsHealth.com. I'm on all social media platforms, NaniKnows_. You can reach out to me for anything that we talked about today, holistic coaching, plant medicine, anything that you need to help or assist on your healing journey. I am here. So, continue to grow, share love, be love y'all, until
Absolutely.
next time.
Before I get out of here, y'all, I want to shout out my Elevate family. They're really supporting me in this Wound Wellness journey as I create this new course, and we're going to be implementing Yoni Love into our wellness products to accommodate or accompany the Wound Wellness journey. So they just really show love, gave me a congratulations kit. I got my microdose superfood blend. I got my lion's mane and reishi mushrooms here for my mental clarity, because I talk a lot and I want to make sure I'm staying on task and not saying I forgot. I got my Canna Bliss. Listen, we got the website coming up soon, so gonna give y'all more information about that. But I definitely want to shout out my Elevate family. We are live on the podcast. We are getting back into the groove of things of being here on every Monday. Of course, I was creating content. We had some retreats and some other things scheduled, but we getting back in order because we have been called to really just, get this thing done. So I appreciate you again, Nani. Thank you for the words of wisdom. Until next time, peace and be well. Soul Tribe, love you to life. Namaste.
Namaste.